Right now, while you're watching this, money is leaving your account. Not through a hacker. Not some guy in a hoodie draining your card at 3 a.m. Nothing that dramatic. It's quieter than that. It's slipping out through the gap between what you know about money and what nobody ever bothered to teach you. And that gap? It's expensive. Every year, Americans lose $246 billion to that gap. Not to bad luck, not to a recession, just to not knowing. Overdraft fees they could have dodged. Interest they could have refinanced. Returns they left sitting on the table because nobody told them the table existed. Now, that's a big scary number, and big scary numbers kind of bounce off after a while. So let me shrink it down to your kitchen table. The average person loses around $1,000 a year to stuff they were simply never taught. $1,000. That's more than a month of groceries for most families. That's a car payment. That's the vacation you keep saying you can't afford. And turns out you're right. Because it's quietly walking out the door every year, while you're not looking. And here's the part that should make you a little angry. Nobody's coming to fix it. The credit card company isn't going to sit you down and explain how their interest works against you. That would ruin their whole afternoon. The bank isn't going to mention it's paying you a fraction of a percent while lending your money back out at 20 times that. The dealership isn't going to walk you through what that shiny SUV actually costs over 7 years. Because your confusion is their business model. That's not a conspiracy. That's just Tuesday. So, hi, I'm the person nobody hired to tell you any of this, doing it anyway. Over the next few minutes, I'm handing you the money education that should have been mandatory in school, and somehow wasn't. Where you actually stand. How debt quietly eats you alive. How the same math that keeps you broke can make you rich the second you turn it around. Cars, houses, the whole circus. By the end, you'll know more about money than most people learn in their entire lives. Which honestly says more about the system than it says about you. If any of this is already making your stomach drop a little, good. That's the money you didn't know you were losing, finally introducing itself. Let's start with the question almost nobody asks themselves honestly. Where do you actually stand right now? Deep breath. Before we fix anything, we have to do the scary part. Look, most people don't actually know their own money. They have a vibe, a feeling. Things are kinda tight, or, we're doing okay. That's not a number. That's a mood. And you cannot budget a mood. So here are 3 numbers that need to live in your head like your own phone number. What comes in per year? What goes out per year? And the gap between them. Why per year, not per month? Because the year is where the ambushes hide. The car registration, the insurance that hits once a quarter, the vet bill, the 12 streaming services you forgot you're funding. A monthly view makes you feel fine right up until December mugs you in the parking lot. The yearly view sees it coming. Now subtract what goes out from what comes in. If that number's negative, you're spending more than you make, and every month you're quietly sliding backward. If it's positive, that leftover is the only number that actually matters. Because your income just buys your lifestyle. Your surplus buys your freedom. Let me say that meaner. Somebody pulling 200 grand a year and spending all 200 grand is not 1 inch closer to freedom than somebody making 50 and spending 45. Actually, the big earners usually more stuck. They built a life that eats every dollar it makes, so they can't walk away from the job they hate. Fancy handcuffs are still handcuffs. Then there's your net worth. Everything you own, minus everything you owe. And for a lot of people, especially anybody under 40 staring down student loans, that number is negative. That's okay. That's a starting line, not a verdict. What matters isn't where it is, it's which way it's pointing. Because right now, American household debt is sitting north of $18 trillion, and the average person owes over 100 grand. Average isn't a goal here, it's a warning label. Speaking of owing people money, let's talk about debt. Specifically the credit card kind, because that's the one dressed up as convenience. Americans are carrying over $1.2 trillion in credit card debt. The average household balance is around 11.5 grand, at an interest rate north of 22%. Do that math and you're paying about $2,500 a year, in interest alone. Not paying anything down, just renting the privilege of already being in the hole. Here's how the trap actually snaps shut. Say you've got 5 grand on a card, at 21%, and you only make the minimum payment, because that's what the little box on the statement politely suggests. You'll be paying that off for over 2 decades, and you'll hand them $7,000 in interest on top of the 5 you borrowed. The couch will be at the dump. The vacation will be a blurry photo. The payment? Still there, loyal to the end. And this is the part I need you to sit with. Interest compounds. Everybody knows compounding makes rich people richer. Nobody mentions it runs the exact same way in reverse. On you. Same engine. Somebody just parked it facing the other direction and pointed it at your paycheck. Now, not all debt is the villain. A mortgage on a sensible house, a student loan that actually raises what you earn, that's money doing a job. The killer is what I call normalized debt. The car payment everybody has. The balance everybody carries. It feels so normal it stops setting off alarms. But everybody's doing it is how a whole country ends up owing $100,000 ahead and calling it a Tuesday. If you're in it right now, you've got 2 ways out, and both work. Avalanche. You murder the highest interest debt first. Math optimal. Saves you the most. Or Snowball. Knock out the smallest balance first, for that little hit of yes, one's dead, and ride the momentum. The best one? The one you'll actually finish. A perfect plan you quit loses to a decent plan you stick with. Quick gut check. Drop a 1 in the comments if you're an Avalanche person. 2 if you're a Snowball person. I genuinely want to see which way this room leans. And if this is landing, subscribe, because it's about to get good. Now let's talk about the number that decides what all of this costs you. Your credit score. 300 to 850. And it doesn't just decide if you get approved, it decides the price of the money. Good score. You get the cheap mortgage and save tens of thousands over 30 years. Bad score. You pay more for the same house, the same car, the same everything. It's a tax on not knowing the rules. So here are the rules. Paying on time is 35% of the whole thing. Miss one payment and it haunts you for years. How much of your available credit you're using is another 30%. Keep that under 30, ideally under 10. And here's the weird part nobody tells you. Having a big fat credit limit you barely touch actually helps you. The trick isn't spending it, it's having it and not needing it. The cards themselves are two-faced little things. Pay in full every month, and they literally pay you. Cash back, points, protections, free money. Carry a balance, and that 22% swallows the rewards and then keeps eating. Same card, completely different animal depending on one habit. And if you can't trust yourself to pay in full yet, no shame. Use the debit card. Knowing your own weak spot and building around it isn't weakness. That's the most grown-up money move there is. Okay, you know where you stand. Where are you going? I want to be rich is not a goal. It's a wish. I want $100,000 invested by the time I'm 45. That's a goal. Because now I can run the math backward and tell you what it costs per month. Specific is the difference between a dream and a plan. And where you park your money depends entirely on when you need it. Cash you need in the next couple years does not belong in the stock market. It belongs somewhere boring and safe. Money you won't touch for 20 years does not belong in a savings account crawling along while inflation eats it. Match the money to the timeline. For the budget, you don't need a spreadsheet with 40 tabs. Try 50-30-20. Half your take-home to needs, 30% to the fun stuff, 20% to future you. Not sacred, just a starting line. Bend it to your life. And the quick wins are real. Call your phone company and threaten to leave. They'll suddenly find you a discount. Kill the subscriptions you forgot exist. Buy the store brand that's made in the same factory as the name brand. 20 here, 40 there. That's easily $1,700 a year you were setting on fire. Out of pure habit. Which brings us to the first thing you actually build. The emergency fund. 3 to 6 months of expenses. Sitting somewhere safe and boring. For real emergencies only. Job loss, the ER, the transmission. Not, there's a sale. Without it, every surprise becomes a crisis that shoves you back onto that 22% card. With it, the same surprise is just an annoying Tuesday. And put it in a high-yield savings account, please. The regular bank pays you like 0.4%. An insult with a checking account attached. A decent online one pays 4% plus right now. On a $15,000 cushion, that's the difference between earning $60 a year and $600. Same money, same access. 10 times the return, for the crime of clicking one different button. Now lean in, because this next part is the reason I made this whole thing. Saving keeps your money safe. Investing makes it grow. Different jobs. Watch this. $500 a month for 30 years in a savings account at 4% gets you around 349 grand. Not bad. That same $500 a month in a plain index fund averaging 10%? Roughly 1.1 million. Same money out of your pocket. Same 30 years. Triple the result. The only difference is where you put it. And whether anyone told you this in time. And before you say, yeah, but the market's a casino. Over any 20-year stretch in history, the S&P 500 has never lost money. Not once. Year to year, it's chaos, sure. But zoom out, and it's one of the most reliable things in the entire economy. You just have to stay in the seat. The simplest way in is an index fund. You buy a tiny slice of 500 of America's biggest companies in one move, for basically no fee. And forget paying some genius to pick stocks for you. Over 30 years, almost none of them beat the boring index. They just charge more to lose. And if your job offers a 401k match, take it. That's free money. An instant 50% return before the market does a single thing. Leaving that on the table is the one money mistake I will actually judge you for. 2 purchases can quietly undo everything we just talked about. Cars and houses. The average new car payment is pushing $770 a month now, on loans stretching 7 years, for a thing that's worth less the second you drive it off the lot. Take the gap between that and a sensible used car, say $450 a month, and drop it in an index fund instead. 30 years later, that's over 670 grand. Every expensive car is you trading a small fortune for a nicer cup holder. Your call. Just make it on purpose. And the house, renting is throwing money away, is the most expensive bumper sticker in America. When you buy, you're not just paying the price. You're paying 3% in closing costs you'll never see again, about 1% of the home's value every year in maintenance, and the opportunity cost of that down payment just sitting there instead of growing. Sometimes buying wins. Sometimes renting and investing the difference wins. Run your numbers. Don't inherit somebody's slogan. Last piece, guarding the pile. Insurance is just risk you hand to someone else. Cover the stuff that could wipe you out. Your health, your car, your income. Skip the extended warranty on the toaster. And the scams? If it's too good to be true, it's a lie, with nice lighting. Anyone rushing you to decide right now is the tell. Your bank calls asking for info? Hang up. Call the number on your actual card. Nobody legit ever lost a deal because you slept on it. So here's where I stop being nice about it. Everything I just handed you? Completely useless if it stays in your ears. Knowing this stuff and not doing it isn't education, it's entertainment. You watched a money video and felt smart for 12 minutes. That's not the goal. The people who build wealth aren't smarter than you. They're not luckier. I've watched broke geniuses and rich fools. The difference was, never brains. It's that they read the rules of the game while everyone else was busy losing it on default settings. That's the whole secret. They were intentional. You can be too, the second this ends. So don't rebuild your life tonight. Do one thing. Open your banking app and actually look. The real number, not the vibe. That's the whole first step, and it's the one most people are too scared to take. Because that $1,000 a year we opened with? It doesn't stop on its own. It compounds. Quietly, patiently, for decades. Into a house you never bought, and a retirement you never got. The ground doesn't have to crumble under you, but you do have to stop walking straight at the cracks. Here's the entire hour in one breath. Spend less than you make. Invest the difference. Dodge the debt that isn't working for you. And let time do the heavy lifting. That's it. That's the secret they somehow never got around to teaching you. Now do me a favor. Subscribe, so the next time your money's about to make a dumb decision, I'm already in your ear. And comment the one thing from this video you're actually going to do this week. Say it out loud, it hits different when it's public. You made it to the very end. Most people didn't. That right there? That's the difference between the ones who stay broke and the ones who quietly stop.